We're outsourcing everything, and we're expecting, other people to save us or other people to give us the answers, when all of the answers that we need lie within. And that's a thing when you, for example, switch over to a plant-based diet and you realize that, oh, wow, okay, I'm losing some weight, or like my skin, my eczema's cleared up. Like, you realize the power of the body, and like, we actually, like, given the right environment, our body can heal itself by itself, and our bodies can birth the babies the way that we've been built and designed to birth since the beginning of our existence. And a lot of it comes from programming and conditioning, and this fear that we always see, whether it be in mainstream media or when we go to the doctors and they make us believe that birth is a dangerous process and birth should be feared. Then obviously when we're in that vibrational state of fear, like, it's easier to be like, okay, well, like, you tell me what to do then, rather than coming from an empowered place of, no, like, I know what to do, and I'm telling you, like, this is how it's going to be, and if I need you, then I will take the support. But I know my body has literally been giving birth since the beginning of time. Women's bodies are so powerful, and I think a lot of the system relies on women not taking back their power and not really stepping into their, like, I call it queendom, but they're like full fierce mama bear lioness that comes out. It's like, don't F with my family. I know what I'm doing. And I see a lot of mums the same. I coach a lot of mums who have gone through and had traumatic birth experiences in the hospitals, and they know that they don't want to go through that again, and there must be another way. And so they've reached out to people like me, or private midwives. Like, I know you guys had a home birth as well. I had a home birth too. And then when you have that experience, you realize, wow, okay, this is how we're supposed to be giving birth. Like, this is how it's supposed to feel. We're not supposed to feel like scared into like thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, I know it feels like you're going to die in childbirth, but we need to know that there are other ways, and there are certain environments where you can put yourself in where that can really, your power can really be brought out and really help the woman to step into her fucking fierce power. I'm all about the empowerment of women, and it needs to be 100% done in childbirth, because I think that a lot of mums have basically, they don't know any other way. So they go into the system and hand their bodies over, like, you tell me what to do, rather than saying, like, I know what to do and this is how it's going to be. And then obviously, if you're a first time mother, that will translate into parenthood. So then we wonder why we have kids, and then we're constantly running down the doctors thinking that, oh, I need you to save me, like, help me. Whereas if we actually took the time to educate ourselves and do the research and talk to other women who are on the same path, actually, like, we have everything that we need basically in our homes, in our backyards, in our community, that we can reach to first before we go down that path.
Yeah, definitely, because fear really thrives in the unknown. And if you're not sure, if you're uninformed, then your imagination is going wild, because fear is just taking over.
Yeah.
And I've seen a massive difference from our first child to our fourth child, between like being unsure, asking questions with the doctors, and really just like holding on to the information that was given, or sometimes just drip fed or spoon fed to us. And then on our fourth birth, far out, it was just like, wifey was like, no, I know my body, I'm owning it. Like, she's coming and this is how it's going to happen. And like, it was amazing. Our experience was crazy. Like,
I know.
Our children went to bed, woke up the next morning, there's like a baby.
Perfect.
It was like we didn't even break their sleeping routine.
No.
Bed, up, wow, there's a baby here.
So perfect.
So you're right in the regard that women need their power back. And it's actually, it's very important, and us men are the ones that, champion it and hold space for them to be able to grow and develop into that space. Because it is kind of scary when you're trying to become something that, holding power is just, it's daunting. It's like, oh, when I get it, what am I going to do with it? You know what? And then because once you've got it, you have a sense of like, oh, I have responsibility now. I need to really step up.
Yeah. And it's so easy just to not step up and just sit back, and like, that's so easy to do, and like play small and stay quiet. But where is that going to get us as a society, and especially in our Polynesian community, if we're just going to sit back and wait for other people, or like let other people do it first, or, like, I feel like, again, coming back to our ancestors, like we were warriors. Yes, or voyagers, not warriors, but, warriors as well. Creators, pioneers, like, no, like this is actually our people, what we've come from. Like we weren't like this. Like we knew our power and we used it. And so I think it's about time it is time that we get back to that, especially women really owning their power and their worth. And I love your birth experience. It's beautiful because you've got both sides like to draw back on and have as a reference point. And yeah, you see when you have one experience and then you have another, you realize, okay, wow, like this, like it might not seem, a home birth is beautiful, but in fact that experience has a massive ripple effect and impact on not only your kids' life, but their kids to come. And that's literally how we shift things and change what needs to be changed on this planet right now.
Right now, I mean, the whole conscious movement started a while ago, right?
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, do you feel like it's just gone like full throttle and there's been more movement, more conversations in the last couple of years than it has in the last 10 years?
Yeah, for sure. 100%, because we have the awareness. It's like our generation, like the millennials or whatever you want to call us, our generation have the awareness now, and we realize like what has been done before is not going to work for how we want to do it now and how our kids are coming through. It's not going to work anymore. It's like the new way, which is sort of like the old way of how our ancestors did it. But, the new way of living, I guess, because I can see like the old way of living and the old system is burning down because, we have things like obviously social media, the internet, we have so many other things that our parents and our parents didn't have.
I'm going to quote one of my favorite rappers right now. His name is J. Cole. Yes. He's in one of his songs, he says, "The good news is we came a long way. The bad news is we went the wrong way."
So fucking true.
That's what I summarize it to you. It's just that, yeah, we've tried to create something in the past that in the direction that we thought that the world needed to head towards, only to realize that we had it all along. We just needed to develop it in a way that it can be implemented into this world that we live in today. But it's awesome that we're coming through now. Our generation is really pushing change. Yeah. Do you feel like I'm somebody who dabbles in a bit of everything, like reads a bit of everything, a bit of a scatterbrain, but do you feel like, I personally feel like it's very saturated now, this whole space, this conscious space. It's like the flavor of the month. Yeah. And that like, it's sad to say, yeah, it's good to raise awareness, but what are you going to do? Like I had this conversation with my boys, my kings in our group, and we spoke about how, it's good to raise awareness, but it gets to a point where awareness is not enough. Yeah. Like we know now. We know now what's the next step. Yeah.
Can actually take action.
You know what I mean? Are you going to push direction? Is there going to be somebody to follow up to make sure that these people that you've just made aware are being taken care of? Because at the end of the day, there's still questions asked. Like, all this awareness and the suicide rate is still rising.
And that's it. Can I just quickly speak to that? Because the one thing that came to me was like, pink ribbons for breast cancer. Like we've got to raise awareness and we've got to raise the funds. And like how many years have we been doing this? We know full well like breast cancer is very, it's rampant and there's a lot of awareness. But what are we actually doing about it? And are we actually going to address the chemicals that we're putting onto our skin, especially under like our underarms? And are we addressing the chemicals that are putting on our foods that we're eating that are carcinogens? And like what are we actually, like there's awareness and that's great. But what are we actually doing about it? And are we actually implementing changes and making sure that we're trying to get as much chemicals out of our environment as possible so that we don't, create this environment where cancer can exist and grow and thrive. And I spoke about this on the weekend. We just had an event, but there's a lot of people that say they're about something but don't actually do anything about it. There's a lot of people that say they're about women's empowerment but not actually taking any action to be about women's empowerment and making sure they're bringing women together and actually doing the work. Like we can say all the things, but are we actually being about it and walking our talk? And this market is saturated at the moment, but there's a saying I just posted on my wall actually. It's like, in due time, the real and the fake will be separated. Just stay consistent. And that's my main thing is like you'll be able to see like, it feels like there's a lot going on, but you will be able to tell like who's actually doing the work, who's actually taking the action and who's just talking about it and sitting back like, oh, let's create awareness and not actually like following through with that. Yeah,
because there were a lot of pages that I followed in the beginning and then like I hadn't seen it for a while. I've been dabbling in and out of Instagram and stuff because obviously I have a newborn, and we're trying to make sure that the energy is correct in our house, and that we're making sure that she's raised in love and in a loving environment. But the last couple of times I've been on Facebook or Instagram, I've noticed that like it went from posting very conscious information type of post to now like selfies and they're like half naked and I'm one of the and that's cool. Like I can't really kind of have any type of judgment towards that, but I wanted to say like where is this heading? Like everybody's just trying to starting to take selfies now, and yeah, it's good to be in nature and love yourself, own your sexuality, all that kind of stuff. But is it gonna go further than that? Where eventually we were just talking about not it's disempowering women when we encourage them to post themselves nude and doing twerking or whatnot on Instagram. And now it's gone the other way, but now it's the same sort of thing. They're like half naked in the forest. I'm owning my sexuality. Would you think that strippers are owning their sexuality too?
Yeah, it's a hard conversation because it comes down to self-expression and how one person expresses themselves. Obviously, it might be taken differently or look differently to somebody else. And I think people, if that's what they want to do, they can do that. But you have to make sure that there's some depth and substance to it. And like, are you just doing it for the internet, or are you actually like being about it and like integrating into your own life and the people that you're around? Like, this is one of the reasons why my sister and I constantly have events and, have parties at my house and my community. Like, I put on things and I want to be face to face with people because that's where the depth and the substance actually lies. Not like it's so easy to post something on Instagram and just like, oh, this is my perfect curated life. But are you actually being about it when you're in the community and showing up for people and actually being for the people? If you say you're for the people and you're a leader in your community, then actually be for the people and not just like, I'm raising awareness and I'm this and that and taking all of the credit, when in reality, like, you're sitting back and not really doing much in your own community that you say you're trying to be for and help. So that's one thing I will never stop doing, live events and like face-to-face connection with people and meeting up with people and bringing, like I said, parties at my house, whatever it may be, because that's where the true leadership lies, like the stuff that you're doing offline, not what you're doing online, and what you're showing and presenting, and actually, again, being about it and walking your talk. Like, I've just seen too many people that are not actually walking their talk, and I'm just like, I've had it.
Well, like you said, eventually time is the best indicator of the fakes and the real, and they eventually becomes separated and shine in their own light for what they really are. So, man, I've been dancing around the topic a little bit, but in Samoa, they're using you a little bit of a scapegoat.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I really find it tough to read the things that are coming up, because I know you personally and your husband and your children, your family, and I read it and I'm just thinking, these people have no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
Even the comments, they're trolling, they have no idea. They're just spreading nonsense, not knowing who you really are, which is why I really wanted to emphasize what kind of person you are.
Thank you.
Where you've come from, how you've been raised, and where your heart and your mind is at for our community. Where did this all come from? The whole blaming and the whole can you start with anti-vax?
Yeah, so that's
what do you think about that name?
The easy label to throw on people, because it's like, as soon as you hear the word anti-vax, it triggers a reaction, whether it be like a good or a bad reaction. And some people get super aggressive and angry, and other people get really hurt by it. I always say I'm not anti-vax, I'm an ex-vaxxer who advocates informed choice. Like, so I have lots of family and friends that vaccinate, and I love them. Like, if that's what they want to do, then that's what they want to do. It's none of my business. But anti-vax is just sort of what the media and I guess maybe the medical system created to just throw everyone in one box and like, oh, they're stupid, like, they're dangerous to society, their kids are threats and walking diseases. And so that's just like, a word that everyone in the media, I feel like, loves to use right now, anti-vax. So the blame for the measles outbreak in Samoa right now. And if you actually are a critical thinker and you look into it and, come onto my page or understand what we are about and what we advocate, you'll realize like it's so much more than an anti-vax name. It's so much more than that. And that's why, I am a threat. Like, I will say I'm a threat to the system and the pharmaceutical industry, because I'm getting more and more people to question what they're actually saying and the products that they are making us inject into our children. And they don't want people to question. They just want us to fall in line and do as we're told and not think for ourselves. And that's where the revolution starts, when people actually start to rise up and think for themselves and question things. Like, game over for them, basically.
That's where this whole woke saying comes from, is that once you've started to create a space where you're now questioning things critically, that's where this whole, it's like you've just awakened from your slumber. Instead of just following, naively, you're now questioning everything. And that's fine. Like, we're bound to be questioning things, and we have to. I think it just comes with adulthood too, and our generation is coming through in the late 20s now. I'm in my 30s. Oh,
me too.
You're 32 now.
I'm 30.
Yeah, 30 as well, not 32. Yeah. So, yeah, what about this whole Samoan thing? Apparently the government is trying to blame you or something.
Yeah, so basically what happened is, because obviously I'm a very public and vocal advocate for informed consent, and I get everybody who's come into my vortex and my field and my radar basically to question vaccines. And I was over there earlier this year in June, and I did have a workshop that I was going to run, but out of respect and because for my family and the government, I didn't want to create hostility and negativity over there. And I also was getting threats and petitions made up against me to stop me from entering the country, and all sorts of things that go on behind the scenes. And so I made this decision like 3 months before I even left to go there to not run any workshop, because I was already going there to celebrate my grandmother's 90th birthday. And then while I was there at that time, I realized Robert Kennedy Jr. had been invited by the Prime Minister to come to Samoa as well at the same time. And here I am thinking, oh my God, this is an amazing opportunity. Like, where in the world will we ever get to meet at the same place in the islands, and then we were staying at the same resort? And so I just saw it as divine timing. I'm meant to meet Bobby Kennedy, and we had, beautiful conversations at breakfast. Like, we were at the same resort, like we saw each other at the beach and whatever. And the media make out like this was all set up. This was an orchestrated high level meeting where two high public profile anti-vaxxers were coming together to conspire and make something up. Like, the media full on ran off with a story, and it was nothing like it was, or the truth. And so because we are both vocal public figures who advocate, questioning vaccines and vaccine risk awareness, that happened in June, which wasn't really spoken about. But obviously now that there's a measles outbreak, 5 months later, they're now trying to tie that meeting or, the Bobby Kennedy and myself in Samoa at that time to why there's now a measles outbreak, and trying to blame this whole outbreak on anti-vaxxers, and anti-vaxxers are the reason why kids are dying. And obviously because I'm half Samoan, they want to pin it all on me basically. And it's been a full-on calculated witch hunt, not just by the media, but obviously, you see the Prime Minister now speaking up saying, anyone who is trying to say that if you question vaccines, basically like there's a potential of, you being arrested. Basically, which has just happened to somebody that I know over there right now today. He is just arrested, who was actually, giving out vitamin A, vitamin C to help recover children, and he was recovering children from measles. And so basically, I know that they're using me as a scapegoat. They want to blame me because it's a distraction, right? Like, point the finger over here so no one points the finger at us. Because if you actually look at the government, like, we know, a lot of people know, like, the Samoan government pre this whole measles outbreak is deeply corrupt, and money talks over there, and we know that the politicians or the Prime Minister's family, things are always spoken about it, how corrupt it is, and the family, like, there's all in there, and different things. Like, this is not new. Like, we know that the not just the Samoan government, mind you, the Australian government, every government, they're not trustworthy people. They will lie to us to tell us and make us believe one thing so that they can stay in bloody office. So yeah, they're using me as a scapegoat because they don't want people to turn around and be like, actually, you know what? The responsibility lies with the government and the Ministry of Health, and they should have been doing a lot more things before this whole outbreak occurred. And even, going as far as to say the treatment that they're giving children in hospitals, they're treating children with a viral infection with antibiotics, which does not work for a viral infection, and things like Panadol, which reduces the fever. And if you speak to any, medical practitioner, most people will tell you, like, if you're child's body is trying to fight off an infection, the fever's there for a reason to help clear that infection and that virus out. But if you suppress the fever, you're going to stop the body from clearing out that virus and actually make it worse. So, there's a lot to be said. It's, whoever listens to this podcast right now, just Google my name, you'll see it everywhere. But I can tell you it's been very stressful for my family, very traumatic experience. My husband is not even in the country, he's over in France at the moment. And it's gotten to a point where I do fear for my safety because unfortunately I'm copping a lot of backlash from my own community, from Samoan people, from Maoris, from, the people that I love and respect. And it hurts. And I know, like, just from experience, when Samoans are angry, like, they don't think clearly and they're just, it's not a good thing when they're angry. It's like quick to violence or, quick to attack. So I do fear for my safety at the moment, to be completely honest with you. And I've never felt like that before. And it's sad to say that this has, happened, but I also believe that everything always happens for a reason. Life is always happening for me, and there's always like so much to learn from the hardest of times that you go through. And I just know that if we, if I stay true to myself and, my family stays true to what we're about, like I said, in due time, like, the real will be separated from the fake, the talk will die down. Someone will come up next to the media and they'll be talking about that next week or next month. And, as long as I stay consistent in my message and clear and get people to just question, read a vaccine package insert, like, that's all I need to be doing right now.
Yeah, you've been posting very informative information in your last couple of posts online. And before I even saw your posts, I was already kind of thinking some things weren't adding up when fingers were being pointed at you and my wife, and I was just talking quietly to my wife. I was just kind of like, it was about a week before the outbreak in Samoa, the measles. I saw that Australian doctors on the news were over in Samoa, training them, preparing them for measles, giving them the MMR training and stuff like that. And then, what do you know, like out of nowhere, like I don't know if I've seen anything spread that quick in one place, one isolated place since Ebola. Like Ebola just went rampant, and this is kind of the same scenario. They were preparing for it. Outbreak was massive. Samoa was the same sort of thing. And there are a lot of other aspects that come into play when it comes to this kind of stuff in Samoa. And other people are trying to say that it comes down to the malnutrition and also the living conditions in Samoa. But measles comes from America, and the place where it came from wasn't even like, apparently it was like, where was it? Disneyland it started.
No, I think that was... So there was someone from New Zealand, apparently, who brought it over because there was a measles outbreak in New Zealand first.
Yeah. But originally, like...
But yeah, the measles is not a new disease to Samoa. Like, they have been vaccinating against measles for a while now. And this is the thing, like, you don't want to sound like a conspiracy theory because they'll just sort of rubbish you and just go like, oh, she's got no evidence to back that up. But you actually have to think about, why is this so different? And why are, so many people dying over in Samoa when they've got measles in Tonga and Fiji and no one's died yet? Like, what's different? Yeah. What are Samoans doing differently? And why have they not focused on the strain of measles? Is it the vaccine strain? Is it a mutated strain where the vaccine becomes redundant and doesn't even protect children from the strain that's circulating? Or is it the wild type measles strain? And I just saw Bobby Kennedy post about this, actually. Like, they know what strain it is, but the Ministry of Health are not telling people. And this is the thing, like, I have a feeling the Ministry of Health, they want everyone else to, be blamed or, use other scapegoats in this scenario because they don't want the heat on them. They don't want to actually have to be held accountable for what's happening over there right now. And yeah, I mean, it's horrific what's happening. Like, I have felt physically sick for the last 2 weeks. Like, people keep saying, like, I don't give a shit about what's happening. Of course I do. Like, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Like, my heart is hurting for these families who don't know any different. The families who are also being forced into vaccinating because it's now a state of emergency and the government has said everyone has to get vaccinated. It's compulsory. from 6 months of age. And so I know like so many of my family and friends over there are so distressed. They do not want to be vaccinating their children with this vaccine that's not even proven to prevent, this disease, or like looking at the strain of what's in the measles and what's actually circulating in the community and the environment. So there is so much to this. They want to make it look like, well, it's the anti-vaxxers, it's easy, let's just blame the anti-vaxxers. But when you actually unpack it all, there's so much going on, so many questions that need to be answered, so much damage that's been happening, not just with the people who have passed away, but also the damage that's going to happen from mass vaccination that is mandatory for everyone in the country, and the effects that will have on our community, our people, not just right now, but for the rest of their life and the next generation to come. And it's like insane what's happening. And like, it's been very traumatic for everyone in this community. And a lot of people have anger and upset, and that's 100% understandable and fair enough. But a lot of people are directing their anger at me, and they just want to blame me because it's the easy way out. Like they just want to have someone to blame. Well, okay, we'll blame this person. That's that. We don't have to think about it or question. When actually, like, if you actually stop to think, okay, before we blame her, let's actually have a look at this and see what the hell is going on and how the kids are being treated and what strain of measles it is, and the vaccine that's not even the vaccine we use here in Australia or New Zealand. It's coming from India. Like, let's actually question this and think about it before we just point the finger at her. Like, to me, blaming me is the easiest thing people can do rather than actually investigating it.
Yeah, I guess even like my question earlier, I was even talking about more referring to people out there thinking that it's because Samoa is sort of like a third world country that this has been housed and it's been able to spread like wildfire, but the original measles was started from America, and and America is supposed to be a first world country.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's what I was I was trying to say, like, if it's going to start in a first world country, what do you think is going to happen in a third world country? You know what I mean? So yeah, you're right, and it's just sad to see the blame being pushed around. I did see Eliota online talk about the delivery of these vaccines from India, and it's actually affected some people, and there's been some deaths around the world. In Cuba that had, I think Cuba and somewhere else he wrote, where there was a delivery from the same place in India. So that could be a possibility, a very high possibility that these cheap vaccines are affecting our people.
And that's the thing, like, so many people think I'm trying to kill, like, so many people are like, oh, you're killing your own people. It's like, no, like, think about what's killing them right now is like some cheap, dodgy vaccine that Australians and Americans and New Zealand do not use, that are being pushed onto our people. And you have to think, like, the bigger picture here, like, what the hell is going on, and what are they trying to do, and are they trying to make an example out of our country and our people? And yeah, like, the more that I think about it, like, it's a lot. Like, I've got a headache right now just thinking about it, but it's just insane to think, like, what are the long-term ramifications of forcing a vaccine on everyone in the country starting from 6 months of age, or we don't vaccinate babies here in Australia at 6 months of age for MMR. They don't do that around the world, and yet they're forcing it on our people in Samoa right now, with no exception to, like, anyone's different genetic makeup, their health history, their bio-individuality. Every child is different. No child is the same. And yet we're all supposed to be giving the same one vaccine to every single person, like, no questions asked. And thinking that, again, like, this vaccine is going to save our people and it's going to stop people from dying, when that is not the truth.
Yeah, I saw a post online, a guy speaking about his nephew, I think it was in Samoa, was ill and was already I think they were just naturally trying to fight off the sickness. They were ill, got taken to go and get this immunization. I think the baby already had measles, had the immunization, and died. So I was kind of like shattered. I was thinking, man, there's got to be other ways. Once you give that much power to one organization, it's too much. Like, there has to be an alternative in everything that we do in life. It's a universal thing, right? Like, you can't just rely on one builder to build every house, because then they're going to manipulate the power that they have.
Exactly. I love that analogy.
You know what I mean? And
like, we know in every other industry, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, they should be held liable and accountable. And yet this one industry, the vaccine industry, where there's no liability, there's no incentive to make their products safer. And yet, that's okay. It's all good. Like, let's not question that. But everywhere else we know to question it. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Right. But like, it's just this whole mentality around vaccines, and it's just a massive conversation like that can't be covered in this one podcast. Like obviously I can share what I'm going through right now. And yeah, it hurts. It does hurt when I have, you know, a lot of Samoan people on my pages attacking me, because you know what also brings it back to my childhood, how I got bullied in school by, you know, my Samoan peers, and I was always shamed to feel like I was enough, but then at the same time I was never white enough because I didn't fit in with my white friends. Like it brings a lot of wounded inner child stuff up for me. And yeah, it's been like a massive learning experience, this whole thing. But yeah, our people are hurting right now, and I just encourage everybody to actually investigate and question before you blame me, before you want to have a go at me and, you know, say all of the things that are being said right now. Just question it, investigate, look at it, actually read the vaccine package insert, and understand that like it's not just a point the finger over here and case closed. Like it's so much more to this, and my heart hurts for all of the people over there who are being forced into a vaccine that they don't want to have, because the government says that they need to have it.
Yeah. Before we start to wrap this up, I just wanted to say there are a lot of people out there that are saying mean and hurtful things, but like I think it's really important that you know and understand that there's a lot of people out there that love you and they're supporting you, and they're making sure that, you know, I'm sure you're getting a lot of messages of support as well, and that you really kind of hold on to that as well, because it gets really hard to hear the good stuff when you're bombarded with all the negative things, you know. So that's very important. Like we all love and support you, and that you're doing the right thing, your heart's in the right place, and you just keep fighting the good fight. But before we move into our outro, is there any final thoughts? Like, where do you think this is going to lead to? What would you like to see? What are you going to do? You're moving to France soon to be with hubby and raise your children over there for a couple of years. Like, what happens?
I guess what comes to me right now is, you know, a lot of people are scared because like, oh, she's moving away. She's not going to be here. She's not going to be our voice anymore. And they're fearful, like, who's going to stand up for us now? And if you're the type of person to like sit back and wait for somebody else to do it, but you know something needs to be done, like get up and do it. Anybody can do what I've done. Anyone can do what you've done. Anyone can do what my parents done. Like, you know, again, come from nothing. Like you just make a way out of no way. If something is, you know, really that important to you and you know something needs to be addressed and said, then just get up and do it. Start, like stop being held back by fear, because, you know, like I never would have thought my life would be like what it is today. Like no way. 5 years ago, like if I was to look at myself and like in the future, like no, that's not her. But I've gotten to this place right now because I've just thought, you know what, F it. Like I'm not the type of person to sit around and wait for someone else to do it. Like if I know something needs to be done, I'm going to get up and do it myself. And that's literally what I've done the last 5 years. Like no one I felt like was really talking about in Australia. I'm just going to start talking about it. And everything that I've done has literally called in amazing opportunities, amazing friendships. Like, you know, you guys are family to me now, and we met through my page. Like it's called in a beautiful community, so many amazing experiences. And yeah, like just trust that when you take that leap of faith, like your courage is going to be rewarded, no matter what issue or topic it is. Like actually be a leader and do what you say you want to do and live the life that you say you want to live, and not just, you know, raise awareness or talk about it. Actually go out and be a leader and do it, take action. That's all I just want to encourage people. Like we need more people taking action and being leaders in this world, in their homes, in their churches, in their schools, in the bloody, you know, work environment, actually stepping into your power and owning that. Because too many of us, I feel, are still sitting back being comfortable in our environment and not actually saying the things that need to be said in order to shift the consciousness of this planet.
That's amazing. So my closing remarks is going to be like, guys, let's just let's step into our power. I know a lot of us are really feeling the urge and the push to affect change in a community, because at the end of the day, it's up to us. You know, I really started this podcast because of that reason. That I just couldn't see any more of my friends pass on and not be equipped. So now I think through these conversations we can push change, and we can educate ourselves and push some more personal development on another level that you can do privately in your own home, in your own comfort of wherever you are, without being judged for stepping out and being a part of a certain community or being a part of a certain group. so that you could fit in. You can just kind of plod away on your own and listen to these podcasts and just take the golden nuggets that resonate to you the most. So yeah, that's the end of our podcast. Thank you so much, sis. Love you so much.
Love you too, bro. Thank you.